Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pine Lily chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society's February program with Francine Prager. Here today we have Karina Vaudry, who is just below me, to give a short introduction.
Lily chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society's monthly presentation. Each month we bring you a different guest speaker on various topics related to our natural world. Introduction to native plants, landscape design with native plants, and interactions within our native ecosystems. This month we have an extraordinarily special speaker, Francine Prager, who's going to be speaking to us about bats.
All right, Francine, please go
Okay.
ahead.
Hi, I'm Francine, and I'm from Tampa Bay Bats, which is a bat rescue in Hillsborough County. And we've been doing this about 12 years now. And we've made up this program so people can learn all about bats. So let's get started. Okay. Now, most everyone thinks bats are all alike, but there are over 1,200 different types of bats. They're mammals, just like we are, just like cats and dogs. And mammals have either hair or fur. They're found everywhere on Earth, except the South Pole. It's kind of cold there for them. Bats love warm weather. And if it's 100 or 110 degrees out, that's good with them. Okay, now, if you take a look at these skeletons, they're similar, except for two major differences, the feet or the toes and the hands. Now, our toes are short and stubby. A bat's toes are long and slender because, as everyone knows, they hang from things. Now, the hands are totally different. This is the bat's hand with a thumb and a pinky over here, and the rest are long fingers. They've become elongated on the bat, and that's what makes up the bat's wing. And because of that, scientists have placed them in the order Chiroptera, which means hand wing. And in this picture, you can see what I mean. Here's the arm, here's the hand. And as you can see, the wing is connected to the foot by a very thin but tough membrane. And if you want to know what this tough membrane feels like, because I get asked that all the time, if you touch your earlobe, it's pretty much what it feels like. And this guy looks as though he's wearing pants. Okay. Scientists have grouped bats into two main groups, mega, which means big, and micro, little. This is one of the mega bats. They tend to eat fruit. They tend to be the fruit bats, and they're found in many parts of the world. Unfortunately, we don't have any mega bats or fruit bats in this country. But we do have plenty of these little guys, the microbats. They're found all over the world except the South Pole, and they're what we have in this country. And to give you a better idea of what they look like, there you go. This pretty guy is an evening bat, very, very, very common in this area. And as you can see, he has very glossy and very soft fur, kind of almost feels like a rabbit's fur. Okay. Now, the largest bat in the world, this guy. He's the golden-crowned flying fox. He lives in the Philippines, and he has a 6-foot wingspan. And to give you an idea of how big he is, take a look at that. But take a look at what's in his mouth. Banana. He's a fruit bat. Okay. Now, I said at the beginning that bats were divided into two groups, the mega, which in my vocabulary means big, and the little microbats. This is what I learned in school. However, scientists are slipping something in on us. Meet the smallest bat in the world, the bumblebee bat. Okay. He weighs what a dime would weigh in your hand. And here's another picture of him. So you can see just how tiny he is. Now, up until fairly recently, he was categorized as one of the little guys, the megabats. But because of his DNA, he's now grouped in with the mighty big guys. Okay, so that is our latest megabat, the bumblebee bat. Okay, now, scientists thought this was the only one this small, but somebody found another one. But that's not him. Okay, but look at what he's eating, bamboo. So meet the lesser bamboo bat right over here. He lives in bamboo stalks, and he can fit into a slit the width of your fingernail. And he is about the same size as the bumblebee bat. Okay, and there's a picture of him. He looks pretty much like the bumblebee bat also. Different species of bat. Okay, and he lives in Southeast Asia, whereas the bumblebee bat lives in Thailand. Grooming. Bats Bats are immaculate animals and groom themselves exactly the way cats do. If they're not eating or sleeping or talking to one another, they're grooming each other. And there is one guy, and I'm not going to say that I ever saw this in person, I haven't, but somebody managed to get a photo of it. There is at least one guy in the world. Well, let me show you. Okay, my bats do not brush their teeth, but somebody does. Okay. One of the most amazing things about bats is the different faces they have. Now, this guy is cute. He is one of the megabats. He's a flying fox, and he lives in Australia. But not everyone's that cute. The heart-nosed bat, and he has ears like a rabbit. The Mexican funnel-eared bat with tiny eyes way back by his ears. Whoops, I'm sorry. The greater leaf-nosed bat, this handsome guy, has a nose that's called a leaf nose because somebody thought it looked like a leaf. Now, this nose aids in his echolocation. And it's a very, very, very popular style nose. At least 250 other species of bat has a nose that looks like this. Okay. Well, this is the wrinkle-faced bat. Not particularly pretty in our opinion, but I'm sure the lady bats are fine with him. Okay, now what this guy does, he has a fold of skin right under his chin, and when he wants to go to sleep, he pulls that flap up over his face and goes to sleep. So he is the wrinkle-faced bat, and he's one of the big guys. He eats fruit, and he lives in Central America. This one looks like a dog. Okay. He is Buttiker's, after the name of the person that first discovered him, Buttiker's epauletted bat. He lives in the Ivory Coast on the African continent, and sometimes it depends on the photographer taking the picture that really determines what an animal looks like. Now, this is one shot of him, and same bat right there. He still looks like a dog, but you can see he's actually a bat. Okay. Everyone know who this is? Yoda from Star Wars. Nope, he's not a bat, but he's a bat. This is the Yoda bat. Okay. Now, scientists thought he looked a lot like Yoda and named him the Yoda bat. Most kids, by the way, think he looks more like Shrek. And they're probably right, but okay. He's the Yoda bat. His real name is the Two-Nosed Bat. Take a look at his nose. Kind of looks like two tubes coming out of it. Okay. He lives in New Guinea. And one of my favorites, the hammer-headed bat. Okay. Now, this guy is a fruit bat, as you can see by the long face and the big eyes. And when he's looking for a mate, he does what many other bats do. He hangs from a tree along with a group of other male bats, and he honks up at the ladies who are flying around overhead. Very normal for a bat. But if that doesn't get him someone, if that doesn't get him a lady, he does something that I think some of you can relate to. He bangs his head against the tree. And that usually works. That usually gets him a girlfriend, or pardon me, a mate. I do a lot of programs for kids, and I'm used to using the term girlfriend instead of mate. Okay. Bats come in different colors. The yellow-winged bat from Africa. And this pretty guy, the painted bat from China. These cuties are from Honduras. They live in the rainforest in Honduras, and they are called Honduran tent-making bats. And what they do is find a big leaf and chew along the rib of the leaf right over here until the leaf folds over. Then they live in it as though they were living in a tent. So that's why they're called tent-making bats. And they are very, very cute. They look like powder puff balls with yellow ears and nose and hands. Okay. Okay, now this is in here for kids. I don't think we have any right now, but I would be asking, what kind of bat is this? Okay, take a good look at the picture. Now, in person, I would get people answering me. Nobody's going to answer me now. So let me tell you that I'm trying to fool people by having them think it's a vampire bat, but it's not. This is a fruit bat. Look at his long face and big eyes. But we are going into the next section. And I guess you know what I'm going to talk about now. The vampire bat. Okay. The only animal on Earth whose diet consists entirely of blood. Now, he's not a horrible animal at all. Meet the vampire bat, the real one. I think they're kind of cute. Okay, they're little bats. They fit into the palm of your hand. Okay, and they, as you can see, they don't have any long fangs coming out of their mouth, but you see these two little front teeth here. Okay, they use those teeth, which are very, very sharp, to make a little scrape in the flesh of their host, and they lap up a little bit of blood, maybe a tablespoon of blood, and that's enough to fill up an animal that size. That's all it takes. And I guess the good news is we don't have any vampire bats in this country whatsoever. They're found only in South and Central America and parts of Mexico. Okay, so there's not much of a chance you're going to get bitten by a vampire bat. Now, there are three different kinds of vampire bats. This one is called the common vampire bat, and he does drink the blood of mammals. But there are two other kinds, the hairy-legged vampire bat and the white-winged. These guys feed only on the blood of birds. They stay away from humans altogether. But as a group, they're really fascinating animals. Now, they're as comfortable walking on the ground as they are flying through the air. They're very comfortable doing this. And they can do something that no other bat that we know of can do. Now, remember, when they have to get very, very, very close to an animal in order to drink its blood. Matter of fact, they have to be right on top of it. Okay. And all is well if the animal doesn't wake up. But if it does wake up and sees the bat and sees what he's doing, the host isn't thrilled with the bat. Now, I haven't mentioned it, but let me tell you that bats have a hard time taking off from the ground. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult for them to fly away when they're on the ground. What the vampire bat does is stand up on his hind legs. He's the only bat that we know of that can do this. And he runs. Okay? And when he thinks he's far enough away from the angry animal, then he's able to jump up into the air, opens his wings, and he flies away. No other bat can do that, and probably no other bat has to. He's very, very maneuverable, and he can even do a handstand. Okay, so the vampire bat is really a fascinating bat. I would love to make this program all about him, but I realize not everyone has the interest in him that I do, so we'll go on. Most bats in the world, over 71% of them, eat insects. Some eat fruit. Okay, and as you can see, this guy seems really possessive about his piece of fruit. But normally when they're in the wild, they don't have that much competition for their fruit, so they're a little more relaxed. Now, this is an Egyptian fruit bat eating a mango. And as you can see, he or she is enjoying the mango. Now, fruit bats, as they eat the fruit, they spread seeds so more fruit trees can grow. Okay. Now, sometimes they eat the fruit right on the tree, and other times they fill up their mouth with fruit and fly away to eat it, like this guy. Okay, his cheeks are full of fruit, and he's one happy bat. Okay. Pollinators. Now, this program does go into pollination. I'm not going to hit upon that with you folks. I know you know what it is. As you can see, it's kind of messy business, okay? But there is one bat I would like to introduce you to. There's a specialist in every group, and he is the specialist, the Two-Nosed Nectar Bat. Now, he's a small animal. He lives in Ecuador only. And he is about a 2-inch long animal. He's a real small bat. His tongue, however, is 3.5 inches long. So if you could equate that to a 6-foot person, that would make his tongue 9 feet long. Okay. Now, obviously, you can't keep that much tongue in your mouth. So he has a pouch on the side of his rib cage, and that's where the bulk of his tongue is kept. And I would call him a prime pollinator. I don't think there's a flower on this planet that he can't reach. Okay. Very few bats are carnivores, meaning meat eaters. But this guy is. He's the spectral bat. He eats lizards and snakes and frogs, birds, other bats if he can overpower them. The only good thing about it is he's not very big. He's one of the small guys. The fishing bat eats fish, and he does exactly what our birds do. He flies over a body of water, only he's doing it at night, not during the day, and using his echolocation can determine ripples in the surface of the water. And that means there's a fish right underneath. So he swoops down. He has really big feet for a bat and grabs the fish and flies away to eat it. He's also called the Bulldog Bat because he kind of looks like a bulldog. Okay, now the baby section. Okay, now these guys live in Australia. They're a flying fox baby, and they live in Australia. Now, most flying foxes have one pup per year. Okay. Now, mom doesn't have any safe place to leave her baby, so she takes her baby with her wherever she goes. The baby hangs onto her with hands, feet, and teeth and doesn't let go. And for those of you who have perhaps tried to carry a child that was way too heavy for you, okay, take a look at this mom's face. I think this baby is going to be weaned very, very quickly. Okay. Hello. Okay. Now, if you happen to live in a cave, you have it much easier. Now, here's a bunch of bats. I believe that they're free-tailed bats, and you're going to meet them in a minute, that live in a cave. We have them in this country. Now, it's pitch dark in the cave. You can't see anything without a flashlight. But mom knows exactly where she left her baby and comes back to take care of it. If it's moved a little bit, she can recognize it by its scent and by its sound. Then she feeds it milk like any other mammal. So, in conclusion, we have a number of bats living in this area that don't bother hiding at all. Okay, they use camouflage. Now, this is the hoary bat. He's called the George Clooney of the bat world because he does have salt and pepper fur, and he's a really pretty bat, I think he is. Now, he lives in pine trees. Now, if you were to look up at a pine tree and you saw a pine cone, you wouldn't give two thoughts about it. But if you looked a little closer, you might see that. Okay, there's the hoary bat hiding in plain sight, ready to do whatever he has to do because it's night now. Now, the red bat, is a very common bat in the area. And this guy takes things one step further. He lives in the trees as well. And as you can see, he's the same color as the autumn leaves, or what passes for autumn leaves here. And what he does is hang by one tiny foot, and he rocks his body back and forth, and he looks exactly like a dead leaf blowing in the wind. Okay, so that is the red bat. So bats are out there every night doing all kinds of beneficial things, but what they need most are friends like you who can teach others how important bats are. And that's the end of the PowerPoint part of the program. I'm just going to turn this off and we can take questions.
Yes, okay. So we do have a question from Stephanie. She asks, in general, how long do babies stay latched to their mothers before weaning?
It depends on the species. One of the longest maternal contact is the vampire bat. Apparently, they have a lot to learn, so 9 months is kind of average. But usually, I would say for the bats around here, they learn to be on their own, let's say by 4 to 6 weeks, usually. Now, that doesn't mean they know what they're doing, because right after baby bat season, I am swamped with calls about bats winding up in people's homes. They're flying all over the place. They don't know enough to stay out of houses. So they go into a house, and of course, people get upset. So, but it doesn't take very long to wean them. Anyone else?
Yes, Jen asks, how can we help our local bats? Anything other than bat houses?
Okay, you can help them by not destroying their habitat, leaving the trees. And you're going to meet a bat that lives in this area called the yellow bat. It lives in the dead palm fronds. It's the exact same color as the frond, and you really can't see it, okay, when it's roosting. If you cannot trim your palm trees, if you can leave some of those dead leaves hanging down for it, that would go a long way towards helping them. Really would. Because that really is the only place they're safe, because they are the exact same color. Okay. So that if you could do that, yes. Okay. Anyone else?
Mary Armstrong asks, is prescribed fire beneficial for bats?
Is what beneficial? I'm sorry.
Prescribed fire.
Fire, not particularly. You mean burning down things so that more will grow?
Well, I mean, like, for example, habitat maintenance. So if you have like a conservation area and you're burning it so that, we can have more native plants and more open habitat.
Well, actually, I think that they would prefer the trees standing more than having them burned down. But, it depends. We don't have a whole lot of bats living in trees, so it really depends on the area. Nobody's ever asked me that. That's a really good question. I know people from Fish and Wildlife that do these burns, and I'm going to have to see what they think about that. I really have to do that. I'm going to say it doesn't really impact them too much, but I hope it doesn't. Sorry, I couldn't answer that better.
That's okay. So most of our bats here are insect consuming bats, right?
All of them.
All of them. And so if the burning is, promoting higher night flying insect populations,
lovely,
then it would be helpful. Now, if the burns are done in such a way that are not improving night flying insect populations, then I would say probably not. But this is me just hazarding a guess based on what I know about insects.
That's good. Yes, absolutely. The more insects, the better.
Yeah, so Mary points out that trees don't normally die in most prescribed fires.
It's true. Yeah.
Unless, of course, if you're in the Ocala National Forest, right, then we're having stand replacing fires with the sand pines. Or if like a whole swamp burns down because it's so dry, and there's a bunch of ladder fuels. But usually, our trees aren't burning down in a prescribed fire for the most part in Florida.
Okay, yes.
Oh, Jen asks, she says, I know bats in the U.S. have suffered from fungal disease. Is that getting better?
Well, bats they suffer from many diseases, not that they're passed on to people. Now, the white nose.
Yeah.
Okay. I won't say it's getting better, And it's really a very, very easy thing to treat. But it's hard to treat millions and millions and millions of bats.
Right.
That's the main problem. Okay. So I won't say it's getting better, but with COVID now, people have kind of gotten away from talking about it. That doesn't mean it's gone away. It has spread to quite a few states now. But what is happening has started, it started in the UK at first, and it's happening here too. And I think it's a good thing since nobody is really treating it. Some bats have become immune to this, okay, just a natural immunity. And following evolution, these bats are reproducing, their offspring are immune to it. And so it goes, okay? It's happened in the UK and it's happening here now. It's just that it's a slow process. But nobody has really done a whole lot with it that I have heard of lately. There are a few organizations that will go in and try to spray a cave, but if they do that, the bats are going to leave immediately. So it's best, I suppose, to let nature take its course with this. Okay. Anyone else?
We have Stephanie asks, for Florida bats, do you know what their favorite insects are to eat?
I would say moths are an absolute favorite. Any type of moth, and mosquitoes. They're a biggie. And actually, any of the night flying insects. They don't eat bees. Bees aren't flying around at night. Okay. They don't eat ladybugs. They're not flying around at night. From what I can tell, they're eating the real pests, or what we consider pests. I guess there's a place for everything on this planet, but I'd say moths and mosquitoes were two of the favorites. Okay.
And that's all of the question and answers. That's all the questions in the chat.
Okay. No one else?
No one else?
Okay. Who is ready to see a few bats?
Me.
Okay. Now, this is called a bat detector. It's the only way you can hear a bat echolocate. They echolocate way above our range of hearing, even way above a dog's range of hearing. So I'm going to put this on. Now, bat echolocation is a series of very, very, very fast clicks. So the first bat I'm going to take out is Nugget. And Nugget is an evening bat. Okay. Now, this is the bat that if you're going to find a bat on the ground during the day, this would probably be the bat. For some reason, they land on the ground, figure, nobody will see me, I'll just sleep here. And they curl up and go to sleep, and people come home, and there's a bat in the middle of their driveway. The bat thinks, hey, I'm fine, not a problem. And I get a call. Okay. So now they do talk. Okay, I am just going to move the camera a minute and put it down to that level. Okay. All right. This is here. Can you see it? Yeah. There you go. This is Nugget. He is an evening bat. Really cute. I know he's dark in color. It's hard to see him. Cute little ears and a cute little face. And he's not going to echolocate for us, I'm sure. But when these bats, when you approach them, if they happen to be on the ground and you approach them, they may do something that sounds like eh, 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 which means go away, leave me alone. I'm trying to sleep. What do you want from me? Okay. And again, as I say, they may be in the middle of your driveway. Now, I think we could probably get him to eat something. So let's see. They eat mealworms in captivity. Okay. Because when I first started this, I was going out and catching insects for them. It did not work out. Okay. They didn't eat it, and I had insects. Since they prefer live food, I had insects flying around the house, which I wasn't thrilled with. So, okay. So let's see. Sure. Now, this is a rather large worm for him, but how's that? Better? No, enough. Okay. Okay, so this is the evening bat. Now, the next very common bat in this area is called the free-tailed bat, Free. Okay, just let me prepare the worm. Now, these guys, I will say that moths are their absolute favorite, and they can fly 100 miles an hour. Come here, give me a funny face. They're called free-tailed bats. Can you see this? Yeah, okay. Because they have a long, skinny tail that sticks out. It's not covered by a membrane. And that's why they're called free-tailed bats. And are you going to echolocate for us? So, no, somebody will. Come on, you can't make them do it. Okay, but I think no. Okay. Anyhow, this is the second most common bat that we have in this area. Now, I will say if you find one of these on the ground, please give me a call. I know that you're not in my immediate area, but I will find a rehab for you. I have a list of them. And because these guys rarely land on the ground. And if they are on the ground, they may have a problem. So remember, never pick a bat up with your bare hands like I'm doing here. But I've had these bats for a long time. I know they're not sick. Okay. But pick it up with a cloth, a washcloth, paper towels, and put it in a box and give me a call. Okay. Because these should not be on the ground. The evening bat, very definitely, that's not a problem. So this is the free-tailed bat, just a little bit larger than the evening bat. Okay. Now the next bat is one of the tree bats. Okay. Oh, no. Stay there. Stay there. This is a Seminole bat. Go ahead, you can. Okay. Now, take a look at his feet. All of our tree bats have tiny, tiny feet in comparison to the rest of their body. Okay. Now, when he's, okay, and that clicking that you heard wasn't very much, I'm sorry, but that's echolocation. He's out of his cage, and normally when he's out of his cage, he's in the bedroom. He's not in the bedroom right now, and he knows there's something different going on. So he just wants to see what's happening. Okay. So this is a Seminole bat, dark mahogany color, and yes, we'll grab that worm. Yes. Okay. Now these are very large for him. Usually I give them smaller mealworms, but these are the super worms. Okay. Now some people will say they kind of look alike. Well, they do actually, because a bat is a bat is a bat. Okay, so they all have the basic bat shape, but there are differences in their ears and in their feet and in their size. And I wouldn't dare try to take this away from him. Okay. Okay. So this is the Seminole bat. And there's one more. Okay. And the next bat is, you'd think that this bat never ate. Okay. These guys are hand fed, so they stay relatively tame. They're non-releasable. They can't fly, but they are hand fed every night, so they don't freak out when they're picked up. Now this next bat is the yellow bat that lives in the dead palm fronds. He is our largest bat. Okay, you get back here. Let me prepare the worm for him. This is Saffron. Saffron is a yellow bat and the largest bat we have. Okay, now he is the exact same color as the dead palm fronds, and when he's hanging in them, you honestly cannot see a bat. Okay, now this guy happens, I'm sorry, this girl happens to be a mother. She gave birth to twins, and only one of them survived. The male survived. So this is a yellow bat. And look what I have for you. Sure. Apparently these things are irresistible. Okay. No, they are resistible. Okay. Now this is, let's see, this is probably about 6-7 hours too early for them to eat. I'm up all night feeding them. Okay. But this is the yellow bat. Now take a look at this guy's feet as well. For a large bat, can you see that? Yeah, I think so. He has the tiniest of feet. So, are there any questions about these bats? No questions? Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this.
Real quick, does anybody have any questions for Francine while we're hanging out? There's a little lag between the video, between what we're hearing and what they're hearing, probably about 10 seconds. So if we give people a minute, there we do. We do have a question. Stephanie asks, how often do you need to feed them?
Once a night, okay? Although very shortly, in a few months, it will be baby bat season. And I have to admit that when a human tries to raise a bat, it doesn't work out very well, but we try. So they have to be fed every 2 hours. But these guys once a night. But between all of them, and there we go, that's echolocation, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay. It takes 6 hours to feed them every night. And I usually sit and watch TV and feed them. And as you can see, if you're not paying attention, the two ends of the bat look very similar if you're not paying attention. And more than once I found myself trying to feed the wrong end of the bat. But anyone else have a question?
Jen says, interesting, thank you.
Okay.
But it doesn't appear that we have any more questions. So I would like to thank you so much for coming on and talking about bats and, helping bats throughout Florida. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I will put again the Tampa Bay Bats link in the chat so that if anyone feels the need to the desire to support Tampa Bay Bats financially, that would be very helpful for them. I hope everyone has an excellent Thursday night, and we're going to sign off. Thank you again, Francine.